Hi, my friends. Hi, my friends. My name is John. I'm a recovered alcoholic and drug addict. And today I'm going to be sharing on the concept of letting go. Like, what is letting go? What am I holding on to? What am I letting go of? How do I do this? We hear it all the time. It's just a simple phrase. You just got to let it go, bro. Just let it go. Man, if I could let everything go, I would probably assume that my life could or would be easier. So how do I let these things go? What am I letting go? And why would I let it go? And so I thought of like, how do I let go of anxiety? Well, commonly when you have an anxiety, let's say your kids are misbehaving and it's causing you a little bit of anxiety, all of a sudden I can overcome that anxiety of maybe being a bad parent by a greater anxiety. What if my wife storms out of the house and leaves for the night? All of a sudden, I'm not so worried about the children. I can overcome and let go of an anxiety that I'm holding on to by adding a greater anxiety. It's not the direction that I want to go in, but we do have the ability just to instantly let something go. I know that in my using career, I would have anxiety around, not having or being able to afford my drugs, my alcohol, all those things. I couldn't afford it. I had this anxiety, and then I do pay for it, and then I don't have that anxiety, but now I have the anxiety that I can't afford my phone bill. And then I finally get the money for that, and now I don't have the money to afford my rent. And next thing you know, I'm living in my car. But I don't have those other anxieties because I'm living in the car, living in a van down by the river with my weed and my alcohol and my cocaine. And so what I need to really let go of, and the invitation in this season right now for those that practice a Christian calendar, is the season of Lent. And it's an invitation to follow the God of all power and all authority, to follow the God of creation that will solve all of my problems because I can have a personal relationship with this God. But what gets in the way of that? And for me, the Lent season has invited me into that concept of letting things go that I'm holding on to that impede my journey with Jesus. And so the picture that I always get is we're surrounded by some little kids. With the little ones, they're easier to deal with because they don't belong to me. So they all like to see me all the time, and they come in and it's all about Uncle John's here. Oh, everybody's going out of their mind, and I'm like, yeah, I'm here. And I've taken them to the park, and they like to collect things, sticks, stones. And it's like they're valued possessions. And don't I do that? I go to the park, I play in the park, and all of a sudden these things are catching my eye. And I grab all of these sticks, and I'm like, oh, I got my sticks, and now it's time to come into the house. It's time to eat. And all of a sudden my sticks aren't no longer wanted at the house, and I'm getting told to drop my sticks, and I just want to hold them longer. All I'm thinking about is my sticks and the separation that you're trying to make me get rid of my sticks. And now I'm holding on to them tighter. Now I'm clutching them. I'm clinging onto them. These are my precious sticks. There is like 1 million sticks, and I found the 20 special ones, and you're making me let go of that. And don't we come into a relationship with God holding and clutching and clinging to these sticks? And so I want to kind of get an understanding what the sticks are. What are the sticks that I'm holding on to? What are the things that hold me back from the spiritual life? What are the things that holding me back from following a relationship with God? What are the things that are getting in the way? Are they disappointments? Are they expectations? Are they beliefs? Are they prejudices, fear, resentment, shame? All of those things are the things that actually get in the way of me following God. And so in LifeLab we have this story, and it's Fluffy, the 2-year-old's stuffed animal. And so maybe you've heard the story if you've been in LifeLab, but Fluffy is the 2-year-old's little sleeping animal. Fluffy is very precious. Fluffy is a whole bunch of sticks to this the daughter. And it's Saturday. Fluffy goes everywhere. with the 2-year-old, and including nap time. Without Fluffy, there is no nap time. And the family has purchased a new puppy, and it is Saturday morning. There's relaxing, there's cooking, we're hanging out, and then all of a sudden, Dad sees the new puppy shaking something ferociously, like shaking, giving the death shake. Ah! And Dad goes in to see, and it's, to his horror, it's Fluffy in the grip of the puppy getting pulled apart. And so Dad wants to intercede and intercept and get rid of this nightmare, because there is not going to be a nap time on Saturday afternoon without Fluffy. And so as Dad grabs Fluffy, Fluffy is on the brink of breaking, stretching, cracking, and there's more tension building up, and all of a sudden Mom comes in and the puppy drops Fluffy. Problem solved. And the puppy, Mom, out of her wisdom, out of her guidance from God, from the women, just the glory that she has, she's dangling a piece of bacon, and the puppy instantly drops it in trade. And so this is what this invitation is. It's not about like being totally emptied and totally just void. It's actually, what is the trade-off so that I can actually let go? In the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous on page 58, it talks about this, about being fearless and thorough, about following Jesus, about having a relationship with God. I have to get rid of all of this stuff inside of me to actually have a relationship. It either is everything or it's nothing. And it says, at some of this stuff we had problems with, we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we couldn't. In all earnestness, at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. And that's the concept. Either God is everything or he's nothing. We beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil. We had to let go absolutely. So the sticks in this case of what we're talking about is our old ideas, our old beliefs, our old things that we come out of our belief system, that maybe family of origin, maybe through our wounding. In LifeLab, we look at the dots and the rats, and all of these wounding has a message, and the message is always going to be giving us a message that we aren't good enough, that we aren't valuable enough, that we can't be loved, that you have to prove all of these messages come out of our wounding, out of our separation from God and those around us. And we are all born into that. We're all born in, separated from God, and most of us have this root system of fear. And so we have these old ideas and old beliefs, and we have to let go of it absolutely. Some of us have a belief of what money is, of what security is, of what safety is, of what relationships should look like. All of those things, we just have to wipe the whiteboard of our lives and let God start to write in his script on our hearts. And so that's what we have to let go absolutely of. When we get onto more of the process of actually identifying all of these sticks, identifying all of these ideas and beliefs, if you've done a resentment inventory, we have the front page of it, and this is our old ideas, our old beliefs, our expectations of the world around us. I was working recently with a guy, and he said, well, yeah, this is exactly what should be happening. I'm like, yeah, that might be true, but what if it doesn't? Then you're full of fear, you're full of resentment, you're full of, having your expectations not met, and now you're going to be proving yourself. Now you're going to be trying to control and demand. And so this is what has to be smashed, what absolutely has to be let go of. So I think it's an easy concept, but it's foreign if you say, oh, you just got to let go and let God. Just let go and let God. Oh, I've heard that so many times. What am I letting go of? Well, it's the pile of sticks that I need to let go of. It's fluffy in my grip. And the more I try to get rid of it, the tighter the grip gets. The more I think about it, the more I obsess about it, the more I want it. And so in this concept of really identifying what the sticks are and what they do to us and for us. And then I go into this place of being willing to let them go. And so as I get done my inventory and move into this concept of God, please take all of this stuff away, I find it objectionable. I find these sticks objectionable. They're giving me slivers. They're giving other people, they're causing me to not have hands to help others. They're getting in the way of my relationship with God and all of that. And so it says when we get to this point, we have emphasized a willingness as being indispensable. We are now ready to let God remove from us all of the things we have admitted that are objectionable. Can he take them all now, every one? If we still cling onto something, we will not let go, and we will not let go. We ask God for help for us to be willing. And that's all we need. We need to be willing to go. These sticks were precious at the time. They don't really have any value or use of where I'm going. I'm going into the house of God. I'm going into the temple. And that's the beautiful thing about what we have as a relationship with God in the temple. And in LifeLab, we look at the circle and we look at God has always been there. God has always been within me. But I'm separated from him because of the sticks and what they do, what they cause, the resentment, the hurt, the pain, the shame, all of those things cause me to be separated from God, and I live on the outside. I'm trying to control what you think of me, what I think of myself, how I present myself to the world, what kind of job, what kind of car, what kind of life I live, what kind of girl I get, all of those things, right down to my clothing, what kind of dog I want to own. I'm living on the outside and I'm not in the temple with God. And so as I come into the temple, as I come into the dinner table, I have to let go of the sticks. And sometimes I look at mom and she's shaking my hands, let go, let go. All I have to do is be willing, because God's actually going to shake my hands, but I have to let go. I have to open my hands. And that's the willingness. And God's going to do it with his power if I'm willing for him to shake out my hands. Just shake my hands. I want to get to the dinner table. I want to have communion with God. I want to sit down and break bread. I want to be cleaned up and be presentable so that I can actually have communion with God, that I'm hearing and I'm listening and I'm able to communicate with God. And that's what this recovery lifestyle has to offer us. This is a spiritual life. What I've come to understand is that only God can remove some things. We see that in Bill Wilson from the Alcoholics Anonymous early days in page 13, he talks about having this new relationship with this newfound friend. He's come into the center, the temple of his heart, the Garden of Eden. He's building this relationship, and God actually removes all of this stuff, root and branch, and a new garden is formed. A new table has been set. And this is where we have this communion with God. Only God can take from me. Only God can take these things from me. Only God can take fear and resentment. Only God can separate me from alcohol and cocaine. I've proved to myself that I can't separate myself from these things, and I can't separate myself from the residual effects that's causing me to go to these things, and that's fear, bottom line. And so I just want to look at this theory. Maybe it's called, I don't know if it's called anything, but it's like displacement theory. It is called that. If you've been to science class or whatever, you have a bucket of water and it's there's a meniscus, look that word up, and there's a meniscus. If you put a rock in that, it displaces water and it goes over the top. And isn't that how we're like, Jesus is offering us everlasting living water. We'll never be thirsty again, but we cloud up the jar and we put our rocks in it that we find valuable. We put our stick collection in it, and there's no room for his water. So the process of recovery is getting rid of that so that we can be a vessel of God's love, of God's water, of God's life. And so you look at this concept. And Jesus is talking to some Pharisees that say, give us a sign. And Jesus says, there's already been a sign. There's been this big whale, this big fish, the 3 days spit, and the whole city of Nineveh was transformed, and they accepted the good news that that they could be in recovery, that they could have a relationship like the Garden of Eden back in the day. And then Jesus says, when an impure spirit comes out of a person. So these are the sticks that I'm talking about. These are the impure sticks that we like to cling on to, the impurities. Comes out of a person, it goes through arid places seeking rest and does not find it. Then it says, I will return to the house that I left. I will return to the Garden of Eden. I will return to the temple where I left, because that was my home. And don't be deceived, guys. That we did get kicked out of the garden, but the tempter, the evil spirit, the impure spirit, the serpent, fear was actually never kicked out of the garden. So I believe that this is going to be true in my heart today, that I have to actually watch out for fear sneaking in. That's a beautiful thing about having our eyes open. We get to see fear come in, fear coming at us, where before we were just blind to it. When it arrives, it finds the house unoccupied, swept clean and put in order. Then it goes and takes with it 7 other spirits more wicked than itself, and they go in and live there. And then the final condition of that person is worse than the first. That is how it's going to be with this wicked generation. And so this is a concept that we're invited into, that we get to be empty to be filled. And so if we're not pursuing God at 100%, if God's not everything, and we're not getting filled with him in the relationship with him, the sticks have been removed, and we just don't go back to our old lives. We have a whole new life. We have a whole new set of principles. He's going to write on the tablets of your heart of this is what a priority is. This is what a value is. This is what the principles that I want you to live at. I want you to be a fit spiritual condition. I want you to have a great relationship with me on a daily basis that outweighs every other relationship, so that you can be in a relationship with others. I want you to be put in a place of neutrality, no matter what the harm has been done to you. I want you to cease fighting everything and everyone. I want you to be a maximum service and a benefit. I want you to be I want you to be the light of my love. All of these things, if you have a full tablet, you can't accept what he's going to do in his direction and correction. His staff and his rod will comfort us. It's going to be very different. He's going to flip the narrative of what the currency is. We live inside the dollar bill, but the spiritual currency of our world is not that. And so he's going to start to rewrite value and definition and meaning and correction and discipline and what instructions are. And I have to be in the temple on a daily basis. How many times we were talking about this morning, how my phone keeps track of how many times I open it. I pause and I open my phone. It might be 60, it might be 70, it might be a couple hundred. But I'm going to my phone all day long. Do I go to the temple? Do I go to the source of my life on a daily basis? Am I pausing and opening my relationship in the temple with him? Do I have the same relationship that I do with my phone, that I do with God? And some days it can be drastically different. And some days, I think that we have the proclivity to wander. And so the process of recovery is once I start feeling cold from walking away from the fire at night, it's a signal to go, oh, I'm getting away from the warmth of God. I'm getting away from the fire. And then it causes me to come back. It causes me to go, why? Why is this happening? Why am I wandering? Why am I going to take lefts and rights when I need to be going straight? Why am I getting off the beaten path? And really knowing the things that I used to find of value, how are they speaking to me? How are they bringing me back? We develop this cast of characters that isn't who I am, but they do speak to me and they do put me in motion. And maybe fear is the enemy. And when fear is cast out, it doesn't mean that fear is not going to come and speak to me today. But God's love, I have to fill my heart with God's love. And I do that by pursuing a relationship with him beyond all other relationships. And so what does that look like in my daily life? That's starting the morning. I go out the door and I have my clothes on. I fluff up my beard. I get a shower in. I put on some I actually forgot to put on deodorant today, but don't get too near me. But sometimes I forget those things, and I hope you don't condemn me for it, unless I start really, I don't think I'm going to go that sweat that hard today. That's my plan. But, I have to start my day with God. I have to start my day in the temple with the creator of me, the creator of who I am. And I have to come into agreement. I have to sit and take my position under his authority and power. I have to take my position as the child. He's the father. What responsibilities are you taking? I'm holding on to responsibilities. I'm holding on to tension. I'm holding on how to pay for my bills. I'm trying to make plans, trying to make moves, all of these things. I'm being propelled, but I just want to let go of all of these things that I hold on to as I come to the dinner table. And so I start my morning like that. And then I actually take care of my physical temple, and then I try to take care of my emotional temple and have a couple meetings in the mornings, and then I get my game on for the rest of the day. And then I have to have the reminder of pausing when I feel cold, walking away from the fire, what's dragging me away. And so in this, the invitation for Lent is, what holds me back from this daily relationship that I have with Jesus? What's holding me back? What's preventing me from that? What are the sticks in my life? And you don't have to guess. We have a process of being able to lead you through that, very tangible, so that you can actually see all of the sticks in your life, the dots, whatever you want to call them. I'm going into like 14 now analogies, whatever it is. And so I just want to invite you into that of really being able to identify those things, because there's such freedom that is available. We can actually take all the God can take and remove the rocks out of my water jar so that it can be filled with his pure water. I don't want any impurities in that water. I really don't. I drink filtered water and everything. If you want to come to get the real water, it's at the booch pit in the back room where we keep the good stuff under a filter.